This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Place to Be Nation, welcome back to another wonderful episode. Another wonderful episode. Well, yeah, it is that because I get tongue-tied. Anyway, welcome back to another amazing, wonderful, whatever words you want to use, episode of Bells with Books. Of course, I am one of your co-hosts here, Miranda. You know me, but do you know my lovely and wonderful, amazing best friend, Bianca?
Say hello. If not, you're about to.
You're about to, yeah, you about to. Yeah. How are you doing, Bianca?
We're a bit sassy today.
We are. That's for another show.
Anyways, I'm pretty good. How are you, Miranda?
I am what I'd call making it.
Heck yeah, making it's the best.
Yeah. I think if you are an adult over the age of, I'd say, 22, you understand the phrase when another adult looks at you and goes, I'm making it.
Yeah.
Nothing's bad.
You're just existing.
I am existing. Yes, I am existing.
But we're existing right now to talk about words.
Yes,
that are put together and then taped and or glued with a cover.
Very eloquently by people that have a job that I would love to have and am too terrified to try to begin. So there's that. Yes, we are. If you're new here, welcome. We are Miranda and Bianca. We are your wonderful co-hosts of Bells with Books. If you're not new here, welcome back. We're so glad to have you here for episode 3. And be on the lookout for a new logo soon up on the Place to Be Nation site. It's where you see our main logo. If you'd like to see that, regardless of where you're listening to podcasts, please go check out the website and view our beautiful logo, please. But we are here for the books. And so I just want to talk to you really quickly. We kind of did this last time, and I thought it went really well. So, what have you been reading, or what have you purchased for your TBR that you're super excited to start reading and you want everyone else to know about?
So I'm going to go through all of those.
Do it.
So I've read a lot since we last recorded. Mm-hmm. I don't know what came over me, but stuff just happened and I got lost in the words. The most notable one that I've done was Lucy Foley's, I say notable and now I can't remember the book, The Guest List. There we go.
Oh, yes. Okay.
I just finished that a couple days ago. While the story was great, really good story, it would have made a better play instead of a book.
Okay.
It all took, the whole book, almost 300 and some pages. It all took place basically in one night, or over the course of 24 hours, I should say. And there was a little bit of back and forth in the time in those 24 hours. But the whole time I'm reading it, I was like, this should have been a play, not a book.
Was it by any chance? I don't know. Oh, okay.
It's one of Reese Witherspoon's book club picks.
Which I will say, any of hers that I have ever gotten, usually, because we talked about this briefly last time, but usually the Oprah ones, they're pretty hit and miss, right? I've had some that I've read from the Oprah book club because my grandmother was like, I really think you'd like this. And I did. But all of the ones that I have picked up from the Reese, I was actually given an advance copy of the very first one she did, ever, her very first one. And everyone since that I have read, I haven't read all of them, they've been great.
Yeah, I actually went through her website today just to see what books I have read out of there, and I've read 5 or 6 of them.
Yeah.
And yeah, so far they've all been pretty good.
Yeah.
Where the Crawdad Sting is still my favorite from her, though. But I am currently reading the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires.
Oh, that's on my list.
I'm not far in. I'm only on page 50, I think.
Okay.
Chapter 3-ish. But I'm really liking the vibe so far. If you have seen the trailer for what's it called? Oh My Darling or something, with Harry Styles and Florence Pugh, Olivia Wilde, that movie.
I have not. I will have to look that up.
It gives me that kind of vibe.
Okay.
It's set in the late 80s.
Okay.
And these women are meeting up for book club. And each month they have a different book. And that's really all I've gotten so far. But they're supposed to be vampires, obviously. I haven't gotten to the vampire bit yet.
But you said you're only like 50 pages in, right?
Yeah.
And who writes that one again?
That is Grady Hendrix. Grady. I do not know the gender of that person, so.
Grady, I mean, is typically a boy's name, but it could be either. Who knows?
That's what I thought, but the main character is female, and normally when a man writes a female, it doesn't go over that well for me, but this one's going over pretty well, so I don't know. That
is a whole podcast discussion I could have, men writing female characters. But I also sometimes females writing men as main characters, and I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a whole nother discussion. I should start keeping a notebook of things when we're both like, oh, that's a whole nother discussion. Because this is only episode 3, and we've said that a few times. Like,
we're going to start a shared Google Doc for all that.
We should, honestly. In all honesty, that's probably what we should be doing right now. I tend to just write in notebooks, but that is an excellent idea. Writing that down.
You're welcome.
So that one's 50 pages in, but so far, would you recommend it? I mean, I know that's not super far into a book, but I can tell usually by that point if I would recommend someone to also start it.
So far, yeah. I've been talking to a couple of my friends that also kind of like that vibe, and I've told them what I thought so far, and they already say they want to borrow it when I get done.
Okay, cool.
As for what have I purchased since we last recorded, I have a stack here in front of me because I have no self-control in the bookstore.
I had no self-control either. I texted you after my no self-control the other day.
Well, at least I bought all of these in separate trips. It was not all in one.
Oh, no. Mine was one. That picture you got was one day.
So I won't name all of them. I'll just name some of the ones that I'm most excited about.
Okay.
The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. I read the little blurb on the back. The first line of it drew me in. It says, "Romance is dead, but this isn't what she had in mind."
I think I read that somewhere. Not like on the actual back of the book. Like I think I was going through Goodreads or something because that sounds familiar, and I am intrigued.
And so the premise is, I think that this girl is a ghostwriter for a famous person, and she goes to take over this store. And then the store's owner dies, and he shows up as a ghost, I think. I don't know. Don't quote me on that.
Sounds very Miranda.
It does. And it's got a beautiful cover. It's like a bright orange, and then The Dead Romantics is written in white, and it's got 2 blue figures laying on the letters.
Ooh.
It's very pretty. It's also a GMA book club pick. I didn't know they had a book club.
I vaguely am like refreshing memory of that. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the first time I've heard of it, I think.
Okay.
But the next one I'm super excited about that I will definitely be reading this October is The X-Hex.
Oh, yes.
By Erin Sterling. Because Barnes & Noble had buy one, get one half off their paperbacks, so I went a little ham on that table.
I bought that as well from an indie book store. There's only 2 actual romance bookstores in the country, in the United States, rather, I should say, because I don't live in the United States right now. And one of them is out of Chicago. They're called Love Sweet Arrow, and they have amazing ladies, but that's where I picked mine up from. I just wanted to give them a...
Aww.
Yeah, they're great. They mail me stuff. It's fantastic.
The other 2 I want to mention it's titled Our Lady of Mysterious Ailments.
Ooh.
It's by T.L. Huchu. It's by the same person who wrote The Library of the Dead. If anyone knows that
book. I actually am in the process of reading that one.
Oh, you have to let me know how that is, because I have it on my either Nook or Kindle app to read, and I haven't gotten to it. But this one was half off on clearance, so I was like, I'll go ahead and grab that. And then my last one I'll mention is Sylvia Moreno Garcia's new book.
Okay.
The daughter of Dr. Moreau.
Oh, yes.
She is the one who wrote Mexican Gothic, and I absolutely loved that book. So when this one went on sale, I knew I had to get it.
It's on my list, but it has not been purchased yet.
I've recommended Mexican Gothic to so many people, and everyone I've recommended it to have said they've loved it once they read it. So
it's also one that I have had every intention of reading. It was one of the book clubs that I participate in on Goodreads. It was the pick for a month, and it was one of those months I was just like super busy and I didn't participate.
You missed out. It's really good.
I did miss out. I think I did purchase it on my Kindle though, so I think it's ready.
But those are all mine. What are you reading right now, Miranda?
Well, I am reading The Library of the Dead. I'm not super far in either. It is really intriguing so far. Little different. I do think I could already say that I would recommend it. The writing style I do really much like. So there's that. I did continue on with the Vampire Knitting Club series.
Yeah.
I have gone further. I think the last time we talked, I had read 1, 2, and 3, maybe. And I have now finished all the way up through number 6.
You're working your way through that.
I am. They're fairly quick. I want to say they're like 280 pages or so.
Oh, yeah, that's not bad.
No, not bad. So I have finished those. I do still highly recommend those. You get a little bit more of a will they, won't they going on between a couple of the characters. It's very chaste. Like there's some kisses that happen and stuff, but like anything else, number one, it hasn't happened yet, but like if it does happen between somebody, it's just insinuated. Like it's very chaste. But I am intrigued because Grandma is starting to like come back into play more. She's present more. They're moving out of, because all of this is usually taking place in Oxford, and then the last one they actually left Oxford and went to like a little town near. So I kind of like that they're like branching out, that like all these deaths just don't keep happening like in the same place over and over and over again.
Yeah,
because that could make it where you wouldn't want to go visit that place. I'm just saying. So I am completing that one. I have actually read a lot since we last talked, because you actually texted me one night. I'm going to tell everybody. You texted me one night and you were like, sitting over here feeling good about myself and the books I've read this year. Looked at Miranda's Goodreads. No longer feels good.
I was so proud. I had just I think at that point I had just finished like number 26 or 27 for the year.
Which is amazing.
I was like, heck yeah. And then Miranda's at like 50.
I'm not at 50 yet. I'm not at 50. I'm at 47.
Oh, excuse me.
But I told you how I felt bad because I looked at my cousin's and he's at like 100 and something. And I was like.
And I was trying to do the math. I was like, that's literally a book every 2 days at that point. Because we were halfway through the year.
Yeah. I do know he's like me, and he usually has more than one book going at a time. And you've asked me 1,000 times how I do that.
Does he have like a long drive to work? Does he do like audiobooks on his long drive to work?
He is like me, and he also does do audiobooks. And we are related. I don't think he would mind saying this because I'm not like I'm telling his name, but he also has the ADHD. So don't know what that says about my family, but yeah. And he also does read to his children in the evening. So that's another reason why he usually has multiple books going.
Yeah.
But I count those. He asked once, and this is one of those like, let's shelve it for another time question. And I'd love for you. This is something I'll present to the people and they can answer. Maybe we can discuss it later. But he posted on his Facebook once and wanted to people to know, like, okay, hey, I count all the books I read every year. I count them on Goodreads. I have friends and family that participate as well. Would you count a book that you read with your child as a book read? And well, his kids are old enough that he's reading like Harry Potter and Watership Down and Chronicles of Narnia. And I was like, absolutely. You read the book.
Yeah.
Like, you are in there reading the book to them, or even Like, even if they read it to you, like, you're reading it with them. You are consuming that book in some manner. I say yes. And he was like, okay. And pretty much everybody in the chat thread agreed. Because some person was like, well, no. But I was like, but he's not reading like you give a mouse a cookie. Like,
yeah. He's reading like actual substantial books.
Yeah, he's reading full-fledged books. Now, I will say when Kaden was little, we had to keep, because when he was in like preschool and middle school, or not younger than middle school, but like elementary school, they also did like, how many books have you read this year, competitions at school. So we did keep a tally of what he and I read together. I didn't count them on my like reading goal for myself, but we did have a list of like, oh, we've read this many books this year. And it was the like Dr. Seuss and the Give a Mouse a Cookie and things like that. So.
But when you're that little, they count to them.
They do count. And I did it just as a separate, like, one, it was for me because, like, how many times have I read this book already? Let's pick a different one. But yeah, so I am reading. Most of my things are on Goodreads. I said this before, but if you're interested, you can become friends with Bianca and I on Goodreads, so that you can see what we're reading, what we would like to read, what we finished, etc. I have picked up a few other mysteries that I was already reading that series, but I wanted to finish. One of them that I really like is by Karen McInerney. It's the Dewberry Farm Mysteries. If you like cozy mysteries, I think that I would highly recommend this. It's one of those, they all have kind of the same premise. This one is her grandmother passes away. She goes to take the farm back. I won't go into too much detail because I'm already on book 3, so a lot has happened. But she's a big time like investigative reporter and comes back and takes over the family farm and all of the stuff that comes with that. And in the process, someone ends up murdered. And of course, and in the first book, if I remember correctly, like most of these, she ends up as the suspect. I think we've talked about that before. That may have been on Geek and Sassy, or you and I may have mentioned it in book 1, but typically in a cozy mystery, our heroine or our lead throughout the books is usually at some point, either in book 1 or book 2, accused of, and that's what leads her to become the amateur.
Yeah, that's like a huge trope for like cozy mysteries.
It's usually like the main trope. When it's any different, I do like it, but you're kind of almost like, oh, because like that's what you expect. You expect them to ingratiate themselves into the stuff in some way that it would explain, like, well, why do they keep sleuthing? Like, what led them to do it? Like, were they just nosy, you know?
Which, speaking of cozy mysteries, I was at the bookstore yesterday, and normally cozy mysteries are like small little paperback books.
We
call them mass markets, but I saw like a hardback one yesterday. I was like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Blew my mind.
Yeah, the ones I have seen most all the ones I've done where you could purchase them in hardback, but hardback is not my jam.
See, I love hardbacks. I gotta tell a TikTok story.
Okay, tell the story because I told on you, so now you tell on me.
So, you discussed, I forget if it was episode 1 or 2, where you like a certain kind of paperback.
I think it was 1, because when we talked about horror hotels, so it was episode 2, because it was how the book. Yeah, I was trying to describe to you to give the people, if you weren't here for 2, I was like holding the book up in the air like Bianca could see me. We don't do video chat when we record. Maybe we should, but we don't. And I was holding it up, like flopping it around like she could see me, which ensued laughter.
Well, so certain paperbacks are more floppy than others.
Yes.
And it doesn't really bother me all that much. And until you mentioned it, I've just been like, okay. Because I try to buy hardcovers because I'm a hardcover girl. I'm bougie.
I am too.
But I was scrolling on TikTok and this woman pops up and she's like, this is for the book talk community. She doesn't talk the rest of the video, but she has like 5 or 6.
Started, but like that's
she has like 5 or 6 paperbacks and she holds them up. And little by little, as she goes through the stack, each one gets floppier and floppier until she gets to the very last one. And she opens it and it just flops in her hand and stays open. And I was like, Miranda!
Yes. And so for anyone who is like, well, what kind of floppiness level are we talking about? For anyone that is a big reader, if you have read the paperback versions of Game of Thrones, like the big ones, not the mass market ones, but like the big
The
big
regular
boys.
size paperback. Yeah.
Yes. No, it's almost bigger than a regular size. It's more of the size of a hardback, but it's paperback. Yeah. That's how they came out when they first came out. That's how I bought all of mine.
Oh, interesting.
If you pick it up and hold it, the book is going to just go floop.
And it stays open to the page.
Yeah,
you can set the book down.
Yes, it stays open. You don't have to hold it open. And also when you fall asleep and it starts flopping to one side or another, it doesn't hurt as bad.
Yeah. But yeah, so apparently you are not the only one with a floppy book thing.
No, I commented and told her that I felt seen. I don't know that she'll ever see that, and she may not care because she actually had a lot of views on that one and a lot of comments. But
that one went pretty viral.
Yeah, you sent that to me, and I was like, yes, that's my book. That's actually the book she uses too. It's a Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I saw the cover. I couldn't see any other covers. Well, no, I think she had Faux Love Story too, which is also on my list.
She had a Colleen Hoover.
Oh yeah, she had Ends With Us.
She had Ends With Us, which is she said was okay, but it wasn't as floppy as you want. Yeah. I would encourage everyone to find it. If you message one of us, we can send it to you. We haven't quite got there with creating social media yet. I'm going to give it a little bit of time, but it is something that we probably share once we do. So, speaking of Colleen Hoover, I did buy, because you even said I've never seen that cover. I bought the UK cover, and so I plan to reread this because I'm forgetting all of the stuff that happened in this book. I bought the UK paperback edition of Hopeless.
And it was so pretty.
By Miss Colleen Hoover. It's black. The book itself is all black. And on the front, it just has the title, Colleen's name. It has a blurb about the book. And it even says the #1 New York Times bestselling author. And it has just a snow globe. Just a picture of a real snow globe. It is gorgeous. It's stunning. It is not. It's one of those. It's not number one floppy. It'd be 2 in floppiness. Yeah, it's not a 5. It's a 2. But I bought that. And yes, it's a reread. But sometimes what happens if you've read a book I don't know, more than 5 years ago, unless it really stuck with you, I can't remember sometimes.
People ask me why I reread books sometimes, and I'm like, this brain nugget only has 2 things going on up here. I cannot store information for that long. So I'm going to reread it. And it's like doing a new book again.
I can store information that long, but there had to have been something in there that made me mark it pretty high on my star rating meter for me to be able to pick it up and be like, oh yeah, that one was a blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Or someone has to start talking and be like, oh, I loved when this happened. And then all of a sudden my brain goes, engage. It's like, yes. The other book I bought, I did this because I apparently accidentally bought book 2 a few weeks ago because I didn't know he had even written these books. His name is Richard Osmond, excuse me. He's British. He is hysterical. I found out about him and fell in love with him from a show I watch called Taskmaster. Every season they have a different set of usually comedian and actors that are famous in Britain compete and do silly tasks amongst each other. If you've never watched it, it's highly entertaining. I recommend it. But that's where I discovered Richard Osman. And he actually wrote the book called The Thursday Murder Club. And
that's very specific.
It is. Well, it is. It's very specific. This is book 1, but like I said, I had accidentally purchased book 2, which is called The Man Who Died Twice.
Oh,
and book 3 comes out very soon.
What's book 3's title? These titles intrigue me.
Yes. Let me see if I can look it up really quickly. So I will say just the blurb, a little bit of blurb. In a peaceful retirement village, 4 unlikely friends meet up once a week to investigate unsolved murders. But when a brutal killing takes place on their very doorstep, the Thursday Murder Club finds itself in the middle of their first ever live case. Elizabeth, Joyce, Ibrahim, and Ron might be pushing 80, but they still have a few tricks up their sleeves. Can our unorthodox but brilliant gang catch the killer before it's too late? So, I was intrigued. The cover is very simple. It's just got the title, his name, and a dog on it.
So is that considered like another cozy?
I don't know if it's a cozy or if it's just thriller mystery.
Okay.
But he is a comedian, so I'm intrigued. I enjoy him. I just think he's a funny man. And actually I had a friend that had messaged me this week, Ben, that I do Telly and Tea with. And he was like, I need to know if you or Bianca have read this book. And I was like, actually, funny story. I accidentally bought book 2. So book 1 should be arriving any day now. Number 3 is going to be called, I hit the wrong thing. Number 3 is going to be The Bullet That Missed.
Those are some great titles.
Yes. So the Thursday Murder Club, and then it's called the Thursday Murder Club series, of course. The Man Who Died Twice and The Bullet That Missed, all by Richard Osman. I haven't started reading it yet, but I really like him. So I guess support him and buy his book, please. So he has no clue who I am, but I'm sure he'd say to that American lass, thank you. Just saying.
That reminds me of, I was watching, I don't know if any Disney YouTubers listen to us, but there's one particular Disney YouTuber I watch called Tim Tracker. Mm-hmm. And like probably a year ago now, the wife, Jen, they were getting ready to go to a Harry Styles concert in Orlando. And she was like, y'all better be supporting Harry and buying his CDs. And I'm like, this 40-year-old woman does not understand the grip that Harry Styles has on every 20-year-old woman in this country.
Yes, she does, because she's a 40-year-old woman. And he has a grip on 40-year-old women, too. I mean, I don't think he looks very great with that voice. And I'd be like, what do you want me to do? Excuse me, what? Jerry who?
Oh, poor Jerry.
No, I would still choose him over Harry Styles any day. Harry Styles' voice.
That was my tangent. It just reminded me of that little incident.
Tangents are fun. But when we get done with tangents, we do things like read YA novels, because that is something that actually I feel you and I share. Is very near and dear to our heart. Here is my thought process on YA, because I actually also saw a book talk this week where a woman was basically condemning people over a certain age for reading YA. And
well, you know what? She can suck a rock.
I know. She said they had no real world problems, or and that it was basically just massive amounts of world building. And I'm like, okay. Well, last time I checked,
you broke up a little bit. What did you say?
I said she was complaining and saying that they had no real world problems in them that they solved.
Oh.
And she says that it's just massive world building and make believe. And I'm like, okay, Linda. Let me tell you.
Listen, Linda.
Listen, Linda. Let me tell you really quickly why YA is amazing, and why I continue to read it. I continue to read it because I feel like YA does not have an age.
It doesn't.
And if you are someone who does enjoy YA and read anything recently, there are some things, Mr. J. Moss, that should not be YA.
It really shouldn't.
Like, them children should not be reading that.
No.
Like, I ain't ready for them to be reading that. No.
Which I understand reading is subjective, but there's just some things
reading is subjective, and I was reading things I shouldn't have been reading at like 12.
Exactly.
I think that's the other thing is I think they're YAs are usually incredibly well written. They do deal with real world problems. Not only that, sometimes maybe it's not real world in the sense of an adult, but for you as a teenager and remembering being a teenager, that was a real problem.
Yeah.
Like, now it may sound like, oh, she's being such a brat, but like, it was a real problem. If you remember back to being a teenager, it was a true problem for a teen. I really enjoy them, and I tend to really like YA fantasy and I guess like magic type books almost more than I do the adult versions of them.
I will say I like YA fantasy better than adult fantasy.
Yes.
I feel like YA fantasy is more accessible because I've said this before, I'm a skimmer, and if you tell me 50 million ways to forge armor, I will have no interest at all.
Right.
And YA fantasy tends to not do that. They're like, okay, here's the world. Here's what's going on. We're going to go conquer it.
We're going to go conquer it. They may explain like what kind of blade she used or he used, but it's very important. I do love adult fantasy as well. That was my introduction to fantasy was probably adult fantasy because I read like The Hobbit really young. Yeah. And that's considered adult fantasy. But
actually now The Hobbit is considered YA, fun fact.
Which is so funny because I think at the time, maybe there just wasn't YA.
That's what I'm assuming because most places put, even the libraries, they'll put The Hobbit in YA and then they'll put the rest of Tolkien stuff in regular fantasy.
Which doesn't make sense. It's all the same story. Like it's
all,
I know. Like they go together.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I really enjoy YA. If you're someone that doesn't, that is fine. But please never tell someone that they are wrong for enjoying YA. I'm not going to say you're wrong for enjoying your biographies that I think are boring, but that's okay. Okay, let me take that back. I have read a handful, but it's got to be on somebody that I am thoroughly interested in.
Exactly. I'm not going to go read some random person's biography.
No, but I have friends that they just devour biographies. And I'm like, that's great. I also love history, but I draw a line. Yeah. I think, honestly, that's one of the other reasons is, yes, there's a lot of politics kind of things that happen in YA. I mean, I could name all kinds of series that would make our list in our thing go really long this time, so I'll spare people that. But I think they do talk about politics, but in a way that doesn't make me feel like we're talking.
You're not being bashed over the head with it.
Well, you are, but it's a whole different system. I mean, I'll bring up like Divergent for one. That's huge. That's politics, like the whole thing, right?
Yeah. But
it's done in a way that it takes you away from your everyday life politics that we don't want to think about in our reading. Usually. Yeah. And I think that's another reason why I like YA. I don't know about you, but that is another reason why I enjoy it. So the whole discussion about YA there was because this time we decided to kind of stick with what we did last month. And we have both read a YA novel. We have not told what the other one, just like last time, what our book was. And we just said YA. So obviously that's a very broad spectrum of things that we could have chosen. And originally I did pick one and told you what I was going to pick. And then I didn't. And then I changed my mind again and said, no, I'm going to read this one. And in the end, I totally changed my mind again. So
I expect nothing less from you.
All right. I can't help it. I can't help it. I was not in the mood, and I was really in the mood for the one that I ended up choosing. But we both chose something different. We're now going to take a few moments and explain to the other one what we picked, who it's by, and our fun points about it. And then we'll take a brief pause and give you a second and let you know now this person is going to be spoiling their book. That way, if you do not want to be spoiled, you can skip forward or pause and read the book and then come back to us when you have completed it. Bianca said she was going to let me go first this time because she went first last time, but I've just talked a lot again.
I was like, yeah, you just went on.
I just talked a lot again. So how about we just stick with this where Bianca goes first? So
alphabetical order.
Yeah, alphabetical order. We're just being polite here. So tell me, what YA book did you choose? Who wrote it, and why did you choose it?
So first, let me preface this by saying I thought this was YA.
Okay.
But I think it's kind of like The Hobbit, where people are putting it in other things. And
don't worry, mine is too.
Okay. Well, because I went back to I just bought this because I like this author, but I went to the bookstore yesterday and I found this in regular fantasy, not YA fantasy.
Okay.
Which that actually explained a little bit of what, anyways. The book is called A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab.
Okay, I thought this was YA as well.
It is not. When you get into the meat of this book, it is, I would not say it's YA. I think it is correctly shelved in regular fantasy.
I have found it in with the YA as well, just so you know.
Well, it's because I think V.E. Schwab is one of those authors who writes many different genres. Like she writes for children, she writes for YA, and she writes for adults. So sometimes people are just like, oh, V.E. Schwab, and they just put her wherever.
Makes sense.
And yeah. But
it does say it could be both. Okay, I had to find out for you to make you feel better. It says it reads with the ease of a YA novel with short paragraphs, quick moving prose, and plenty of action, but it's way more grimier and more of a adult. So I guess
some
this is
of
one that this was NPR. This was written by NPR in 2015.
Okay.
So I would take that as it could be either. So it qualifies for today's assignment.
So it was a fairly easy read, and I like the way it was broken up. So instead of having like full-fledged chapters, you would have part 1, and then within part 1, you would have 1 or 2 chapters. Okay. And then in part 2, it'd be broken up into like 2 or 3 chapters, so on and so forth. So I feel like I could just pick it up, read a few pages, and then put it down if I needed to, which I really liked about it.
Oh, yeah, I do enjoy when I can do things like that, for sure.
So, and it makes reading your next book kind of difficult, because if it has a chapter longer than like 5 pages, I'm like, well, crap. I actually have to sit down and like make time to read now. But so this is by V.E. Schwab. For those who don't know, she also wrote The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue and Gallant. Those are the 2 that I've read from her. Enjoyed both of those thoroughly, so I was like, I'll pick up another one. This one is the first in a series. I forget what the other one is called, but the third one she is currently working on. But it follows our main, as a couple of points of view. I'd say the main point of view, his name is Kell, Kell. Okay. And he can wield magic. The magician. All right. But the basic premise of the book is that he can travel between worlds, and there's 4 main worlds. There's a gray world, a red world, a white world, and a black world. And only the people who have this certain kind of magic can travel through those various worlds, and he is one of those. Okay. But that's the basic premise of the book. I will be getting into spoilers here in just a few seconds, so if you don't want to listen, skip on ahead. So we open up with Hell and his mysterious coat, and it's not like Joseph and his coat of many colors. This coat, you can turn it like 70 different ways, and it's a different coat with different pockets, and he can hide stuff in those pockets. And I just thought it was really interesting that the V.E. Schwab opened the book like that. I was like, okay, so we're already setting up a very interesting world here.
This is very D&D, and I dig it.
Which I will say, I'll go ahead and say this is not a favorite book of mine. I think I only gave it 3 out of 5 stars.
Oh.
It got very gritty, and it probably wasn't what I was in the mood to read. Okay. But it also got super duper detailed, and I don't know if I will even pick up the second one, honestly. Like, I'll have to look at some reviews or something to see what people say about the second book. But as of now, I don't think I'm going to continue. Okay. Because there was a lot of magic and a lot of fighting and a lot of characters. It wasn't as bad as Game of Thrones, but when I just felt overwhelmed. That's a good word for it.
Okay. It sounds like something I'd be into.
I think you would thoroughly enjoy it. It had a very interesting premise. I liked the idea of traveling between worlds. I started having problems when we start getting into blood magic, but that's just a personal preference and my own personal upbringing. But there was a lot of blood magic involved. A lot of ethical questions I have for these characters. They did not make some great choices throughout this.
I wonder if that plays into the rest of the series, though.
It does, because book 1 definitely ends on a cliffhanger. So the premise of the book is kind of Kell is given this object, and his mission is to get it from, I think he got it in the white world, and he needs to get it to the black world. But the black world has been sealed off from everyone else because it kind of imploded and there was bad stuff happening in the black world. Okay. And pretty much this is the YA trope. He's the only one who can save the world. And that's very YA of him.
Oh, for sure. I
think that's why people kind of put it in YA. But so he goes on this grand adventure to kind of get this object back to the black world and destroy it before it can destroy all the other worlds. However, the white world is not, when you think of the color white, you think of like innocence and purity and all that kind of good stuff. Mm-hmm. This white world is a starving world, and their rulers are ruthless. They are, I know they're brother and sister. I can't remember if they were twins or not. But they also are magic people, and they use their magic for bad. And they basically want to hunt down Kel and get this object from him so they can wield it and basically take over all of the worlds, not just their white world. Along the way, we do get a point of view from a girl named Lila. She's had a very rough upbringing. One of the very first scenes we have with Lila is an almost rape scene. So trigger warning for that. I was not prepared for that at all. I think that was in like part 3. So basically chapter 3 of the book. But she's kind of ruthless in her own way as well. She does not know magic. She can't do magic. But she ends up coming across Kel, and she kind of saves his life in a fighting instance that they were doing. And she kind of just joins along on this adventure. I feel like I can't really spoil too much just because it was so detailed, and for me to spoil anything, I would have to go into those details.
Oh, okay.
So my synopsis is going to be kind of short. Okay. But I will say one of the spoilery things is they do eventually get to the black world, but like the very end of the book is them getting to the black world, and the book just kind of ends. We don't know what happens. Yeah. But
so I will say they did it. It sounds like the author did it on purpose, noticing or knowing there would be a second book, so they purposely left that to come, kind of thing.
If I follow V.E. Schwab on Instagram, like she's one of the ones, like if I open Instagram, her stories are the first ones to pop up for me to watch. She's a very interesting person to follow, so go follow her if you want author insight or a woman who's obsessed with cats. She also lives in Scotland. She posts very pretty pictures of Scotland. But I think when she signed the contract for this book, I think it was a 3-in-1, so she signed up to do a trilogy, not just a one-off for this one. Mm-hmm. So I think she kind of knew where this one would end, if that makes sense.
And she may have also, I've read this from other authors before, where they write and then they turn it all in, whether they already had a deal or they're trying to get a deal, and they met the bookseller, whoever is reading it, looks at them and goes, this actually, if you cut it right here, would make 2 wonderful books. So, I mean, it could have been a case of that as well.
That is true. So I don't know how that all went down, but you can definitely tell, like, it was purposely left off on that cliffhanger on purpose. Yeah. But yeah, that's basically the premise of it. There's not too many spoilers I could even give without just reading the book to you.
And so it's funny that you picked a book like that, and I'm kind of glad you did, and here is why. The book I chose also can be found on both YA shelves as well as just like the regular shelves. I don't even know what you say.
Like
you don't say
fiction?
Adult. Yeah. I mean, you work in a library and you've worked as a bookseller. I've worked in a library, but I wasn't really sure what you would call it, just adult or whatever. But I think it could intermingle very well. I even Googled when I first started reading it, like, is this a YA? And most people were saying it was. But there's some things that happen in here where I'm like, oh, but is it? I chose Mythos, the Greek Myths Retold by Stephen Fry.
Yes. I want to read that so bad.
It's one of 3 books. There's more to come. I really enjoyed it. I love anything Greek mythology, though. So that's why I chose it. So it's going to be the same. What's really funny is it's the same thing. I'm not going to really have to be doing much spoiling because one, most Greek myths are already known, so that's not spoiling them. And the other thing is you just kind of have to read it for yourself. If you're not familiar with Stephen Fry, if you're a nerd or a geek or however you proclaim yourself, you know Stephen Fry. He's been in a little bit of everything. He is a British actor, comedian, broadcaster. He's been in radio. He actually voices and does the Harry Potter. He reads the UK Harry Potter audio.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's the author for the UK audiobooks of Harry Potter. He's in Alice in Wonderland. He is in The Hobbit.
Recent one is The Sandman.
Yep, he is now currently in The Sandman. He was in not Game of Thrones. Actually, he may have been. I would have to double check that fact. But he was in Sherlock Holmes, for sure, as Mycroft. So like he's very well known. And I kind of had forgotten that he was an author as well when I picked this book up. And it is a retelling of ancient Greek mythology. And he does a wonderful retelling. What I thought was cool is there were stories that I had never heard of before as well. And I love how he mixes and intermingles. Like when he's telling you about a story, he'll say something about whatever character he's talking about. He's like, but much to what you've heard about them in Percy Jackson. Or he talks about real world tellings that you've already heard of. And he's telling you these stories, but he's saying like much unlike how you heard about them in this, or this. Or at one point, I think he even references Harry Potter, but he brings in modern day pop culture and how it like is equivalent. Like it's not just tossed in there to be tossed in there. Like it makes sense to whatever he's telling you at the moment, what story or what god he's telling you about. I thought it was very well done. They're going to be doing a musical production of this, apparently.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Which I thought was really cool. I read the book, but I also grabbed the audio because I thought it would be one that would be fun to like jump around from story to story if you wanted. And it is. It's also narrated by Stephen Fry, and he has an excellent narration voice. So if you are into audiobooks, I would say definitely.
He has a good voice, period.
He does. He has a great voice for any sort of narration or television. And I mean, he was in radio, so like he has the voice for all of those things. So
yeah.
He does state at the beginning of the book that no background knowledge is necessary to appreciate the stories. And that there's nothing academic or intellectual about Greek mythology, because I think a lot of people go into it thinking it is. He also says something that I really love. He says it's addictive, entertaining, and approachable, and astonishingly human. And I thought it was great. It was critically acclaimed by many people.
I've seen nothing but good reviews about it.
Yeah. It's been amazing. And I, too, almost was like, another Greek book. Like, I love Greek mythology, but sometimes it does get very academic.
And especially right now, I feel like there's a lot of Greek myth books going on out there right now.
Mm-hmm. And, because we're also getting, like, another version. They were going to do the Percy Jackson TV show, and we also have all the Percy Jackson books, which, again, I highly recommend. But, like, you're right. It seems like there's a lot of versions. And I think it comes around. I think it varies.
Because you also have Circe and Achilles, the Song of Achilles, and Electra. Those are the top 3 that I can think of, like that are just permeating right now, along with Mythos. Mythos has been getting a lot of traction too.
Yeah. But I really enjoyed it a lot. I really liked his little quirks and little things that he added in there that kind of like bring it to modern day. I really enjoy the stories. One of my favorite stories. I won't fully tell it, but when you're reading it, or if you choose to read it, you'll kind of know what I'm talking about. And it has to do with Zeus and Hera, and they're having like this big wedding type thing. I don't know if it's their actual wedding. I can't remember if it's their actual wedding or that they're re-celebrating, basically. And they decided to have a contest for whoever can make or supply the best meal or the best dish at the wedding, and they're going to reward that person with whatever wish they have, basically. It's also a story of Zeus and how he constantly goes against his word, but it's a telling of basically the bees, because it ends up being that he goes through all of these dishes and all these different things, and it's really funny listening to like, and the porcupine brought this, and the so and so, or like, and he'll tell this little creature brought this, what you now know as and it'll tell you, and it ends up being that the best dish in the world is honey. They didn't really have a name for it at that time, brought to him by the bee, and she's created this tiny little amount all by herself because there's only one of her. And it's kind of the story of how bees got their stinger, and you know, how now there's as many honeybees as they are. And I really enjoyed it. It also kind of showed that the gods aren't, you know, I guess they're powerful, but they're not nice. They're kind of, a lot of them are assholes.
Well, Greek gods in particular, they're very flawed.
Very flawed.
They're basically humans.
And that's
what
I love so much about Greek mythology, is when you get down to the brass tacks that they're flawed. They think they're not. They think they're better than everyone, but they're extremely flawed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do.
What would you rate it overall?
What did I rate it? I think I gave it a 4, which is still very high for me.
Yeah.
Let me double check before somebody checks my Goodreads and is like, no, you gave it this. I did. I gave it a 4, which is my typical, like, oh, I really liked this. I'll share it. I'll talk about it. I'll tell people to read it. 5, if it gets 5 stars, means that not only would I like do all those things, but I would also probably reread it, and I want it in every form. And yeah. 5 means like, you without a doubt are sticking with me, and I'm going to remember in 20 years what that book was about.
Yeah.
This was just very good. Yeah, this was just very good. Highly enjoyable. It's 400-ish pages.
Oh, it's a little thick.
It's a little thick. It's a little chunky. It ain't a tome, but it's getting there.
Yeah.
It's chunky.
Do you know if there are plans for more in the series?
There are 3 more already.
Oh, okay.
So there's 2 more already, total of 3. There is Mythos, or I know some people say it. How did you say it earlier?
I say Mythos.
Mythos. Okay, so some people say Mythos and some people say Mythos. I don't think either are wrong, but that is book 1. The next book, let's see here. Tell you guys correctly. Ooh. The page just started jumping everywhere. The next book is Heroes, the Myths of Ancient Greek Heroes Retold. And then the third book is Troy, the Greek Myths Reimagined. So I think Troy was the one I was most excited about. I really love the story of Troy.
I wonder why Mythos is so popular right now and the other 2 aren't, because I haven't heard of those other 2.
Well, in all honesty, I didn't even know about it until about 5 or 6 months ago, and it came out in 2017. So
it's kind of older.
It is, and it made me wonder. I've noticed a lot of the books that have gotten a lot of popularity or recognition lately have been books that are not even new. And I used to keep up very well with like what's new, what's coming out, when's it coming out, and I haven't, but I didn't also realize I had missed something that was this far back. So I don't know if it maybe just suddenly got it could be book talk. I don't know. That happens.
Yeah, it does.
I don't know why it's suddenly popular. And then Neil Gaiman had a book come out, a Norse mythology book come out not
Yeah,
long ago as
I remember
well.
seeing that one.
So I wonder, and that one came out in 2018, it looks like. So I wonder if maybe it's just the combination with like Book Talk and Sandman coming out, and then people looking and going, oh, what else did Neil Gaiman write? Oh, he wrote this. Oh, look, this guy wrote this.
Yeah. Just
But,
follow the rabbit hole.
Yeah, you end up in this tiny rabbit hole. I just randomly found it. I don't remember where. It could have even been on TikTok. But I was like, why do I not know about this book? But yeah, there's 3 out already. I don't know if there's plans for more. And even the bookstore I go to that has like a small English section, they had like all of them the other day, and they were like top reads, and I was like, okay, good to know. So yeah, again, I unfortunately can't really spoil anything. I'm like you, it just goes through the telling. I do like the way, I will say this, it doesn't spoil anything. I do like how he does it. So he starts with one story, and he'll say like so-and-so who is the mother of, and then they'll say the name, because, it's kind of like in Game of Thrones. There's a lot of this person begets this person who begets this person who begot that person, right?
Yeah.
So he will say like, so-and-so who is the mother of, but we'll get to her later, or more about that soon. And then he finishes telling the story he's telling, and he does it in like a chronological manner, where he's like, now remember how I was telling you about when Hermes, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then he goes into that story.
That reminds me of, phooey, what's it called? The Old English Tales. The wife is part of the Wife of Bath. What's that? Chaucer?
Yes. How Chaucer goes back and forth.
What's that collection of works called?
I don't know now. I was forced to read them in school. And there's somebody out there that loves
Canterbury
them.
Tales. There we go.
Yes, Canterbury. I was going to say, there's somebody out there that loves them that's yelling at us right now. Like, yes, I hate to
I was
use the
getting
word
there.
forced.
I was getting there. I apologize.
Yeah. I hate to use the words forced, but that was one of those required reads. For the English class I took in school. It was a required read and write about. So, but yeah, you're right. He does the whole like, oh, now back to, yeah.
Yeah.
I actually really liked it though. Apparently,
now is it Stephen being the narrator, or are the gods?
No, like Stephen is telling you the story.
Okay.
Like he's telling you. Because if I remember,
it's not like Zeus went and did like a regular book.
Well, it is, but he'll go, now let me tell you the story of blah, blah, and he's like, much like how, and then how he'll bring in like the pop culture reference, or he'll reference the story he told you earlier about another god. So to me, when I was reading it, and plus because I went and did like parts in audio and then reread the book, or read the book and then listened to the audio, I feel like he is telling you the story. Like the author is the narrator of the whole thing, is how I felt.
Okay.
And you really feel that way if you're listening to the audio, because he is the narrator. So
yeah, I got you.
I don't know. I highly enjoyed it. I think if you know anything about him, or you just like Greek mythology, or you do like those books that apparently Bianca and I both pick, where they kind of sit on the fence, like, is it YA? Is it not?
Yeah.
I would recommend it.
I think it's interesting that we both chose books that did that.
I know. Didn't we kind of sort of end up doing this last time too?
I'm trying to remember what we did last time.
Well, last time we did like thriller, mystery, horror. Mine was straight up horror, but yours was like, but yeah. I think it's kind of funny, but I think we're starting to reach this age of some books just ride a line of, is that YA? But then you go and you watch the TV shows. For example, like you go watch a television show that's supposed to be for teenagers, and you're like, is this for teenagers?
Yeah.
I'm the mom to a teenager. So, I mean, I feel that way. Sometimes I watch them, I'm like, is this for my teenager? I don't know about that.
Not calling out a particular streaming service or anything, but known for their originals.
No. Yeah.
Anyways, but speaking of TV shows and movies,
yes,
are there any adaptations that you have watched and or are excited about that are coming?
I'm really bad with the excited about that are coming because I don't think I've paid too much attention to what's coming that's based off a book. The one that I'm kind of excited about is one I talked about last time. So go back and listen to episode 2. I don't actually talk about it in our adaptation section, but I do mention the book. I want you to work for it, so go listen to that. But I will say it's not an old show. And if you've ever listened to Geek and Sassy, I've talked about this show before, but I kind of stopped watching, and it wasn't like because I didn't like it, but I had stopped watching the show probably a couple episodes into season 2 when I was actually like DVRing it. It's now on Netflix, Riverdale.
Yeah.
Riverdale obviously is based loosely off the Archie comics. And then later they have a comic that is called Riverdale as well, which ties in on now to the Sabrina world, which there are also Sabrina comics as well, Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I have started back at Riverdale, and which led me when I was talking about, are these shows really for kids? Yeah.
I personally vote no.
I don't know. Like, I paused it. Caden came in the room earlier, and my kid, he knows all the details. The birds and the bees and all of those things, obviously. He's 16, right? So he knows and he understands, and like he gets like adult jokes. But like I paused it when he came in earlier because I felt weird. Like, I don't know. I just felt weird. Here these people are making out all over each other.
Yeah, there's 3 shows that are marketed to teens or for teens that I would say are not teen or YA. And Riverdale is one of them.
Riverdale for sure. And then I had somebody go, how can you watch kids make out? And I'm like, have you looked up how old they are? They ain't kids.
Yeah, no, they're like in their 20s.
Yeah, and which is usually the case. And not in all shows, but in most shows. And TV or in movies, when it's a teenager, not always are they actually a teen, or they're a older teen. But yeah, you're right. There's several shows that are currently running that are supposed to be for like teenagers, and I'm like, but is it?
Yeah,
because if there had been a show out like those when I was a teenager, maybe there were.
I know I wouldn't have been allowed.
Oh, you definitely would not have been allowed. If you're curious of what we're talking about, there's another show you can check out on our plethora of feeds here called Bianca's First Time, where our other best friend Jenny and Bianca get together and they watch movies that you wouldn't believe that Bianca has literally actually never seen. It's not a lie.
Yeah, it's most movies, so.
It is, because I have texted you before. Or Marco'd you, because we use our Marco app to talk each other, and I will like give you a movie quote, and the face that you give me back.
It's either normally a blank face or it's like a, what in the world are you talking about face?
And there's been a few times that I've said something to you, you've read it to your husband, and he dies laughing, and you're like, I don't understand what either of you are talking about right now.
Yeah, no, I am definitely out of the loop.
But you have read a lot, so there's that. That's where you were rebellious.
Yes.
But I am enjoying Riverdale. I've gone back to it. I guess I had dropped it on like episode 2 or 3 of this season. I'm halfway through season 2. I don't care what anybody says. I still enjoy it. There are some major cringe things that happen. Don't get me wrong. There's some stuff that like I don't know if it's just because I don't know if teenagers would also find it cringy or if it's just that I'm almost 40, so I find it cringy. But there are some things that happen that I was like dying laughing. There are some tropes that take place where it's like, oh, that's a given. Like, it's a teenage show. That's a given kind of thing.
Yeah.
I do love that most of the people that are playing the parents in this series were in like the shows I watched as a teenager.
Yeah. It's like they're like playing grown-up versions of themselves almost.
They are. Like Jughead's
their
dad
characters.
is Skeet Ulrich.
Yeah.
Who, for anyone who is a huge fan of the Scream series, is Billy from the first Scream, who his story and his name continues through the rest of the series, of the Scream series. He's in a ton of other things too, but that's where most people are going to remember him. Archie's dad is from 90210. Archie's mom is actually Molly Ringwald. So, yeah, it's kind of fun seeing all the people that were in the teenage movies and TV shows when I was a teenager or a little bit younger are now the parents in the show for the teenagers.
Life has come full circle.
It has cool. Oh, God, I'm old.
And now it's time for Miranda's existential crisis.
I have one almost weekly because I have a 16-year-old that reminds me how old I am. He walks into the room the other day and he's like, "Hey, Mom, back in 1989." And I was like, "Excuse you?" and then he sends me a TikTok the other day of a girl talking about something that happened in the she was talking about in the 1900s, right?
Yeah.
She's talking about the 1990s.
I mean, she's technically not wrong.
No, Mama. I'm gonna need I'm gonna rewrite Lizzo's song, and in a minute, I'm gonna need somebody to hold me up, keep me from falling apart. Yeah.
Oh goodness.
And then there's a whole nother one. The whole other existential crisis I had is when you ask a kid, "How do you pick up a phone?"
Like, yeah.
It's not.
Those kids just like hold their palm up to their face now.
They hold their palm to their face. And I'm like, "What are you doing?" "No, it's like this." And I know everybody can't see me, but you have your thumb and your pinky out with all your others curled up. And that's their. Ah! Yeah, Miranda is having.
Phones are flat now.
I don't care. So while Miranda has an existential crisis, she watches a YA show and asks herself, "Why are children allowed to watch this?" But if you like things like that, I recommend it. It did make me kind of want to go back and reread the Riverdale comics. Archie and Jughead is fun. Like, Archie's a fun comic. I enjoy it. But I want to reread the Riverdale ones now, I think. So, do you have anything that you're excited about that does not cause an existential crisis?
I am excited that let's see, today is Sunday. We're recording on Sunday. Let me pull up the calendar. In about a week and a half, I will be sitting down to watch the new Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power show.
Oh my God, yes.
On Amazon. I am so super excited. Do I know anything about any of these characters? I do not, but I have been starved of Lord of the Rings content for over a decade now.
Listen,
so I need it.
The first one came out when I was in high school.
The first one came out when I was in...
It's time for my
20th I think 6th or 7th grade.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So, yeah.
Yeah, did you miss that whole part? So you were in 6th grade, right? I said the first one came out when I was in high school, and it's time for my 20-year reunion.
You're welcome.
Bianca is now going to cause Miranda to have a second existential crisis. But I'm super, super excited for this show as well.
Another adaptation that I watched was The Sandman on Netflix.
You've watched? I have not watched yet, so please tell without spoiling.
Oh. I don't think I can.
I've read the comics.
I had not read the comics, which actually, I think the only thing I've read from Neil Gaiman is Coraline.
For shame.
I know.
We should have like a whole Neil Gaiman episode.
But to be fair, I'm not a huge sci-fi nerd. That's just not, that's not my reading genre.
No, that's fine. You would be fine. Since we're talking about him, I always get the name wrong. So it's called Neverwhere.
Yeah.
That would be the one that I would say you should read.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind. Let me type that into Goodreads real quick. Add that before I forget.
And if you want, because I know you do enjoy audio, I've read the book, but they, BBC and Audible did a full, like, what do you call it? Full cast adaptation.
Oh, I like when they do that.
So it is the book. It's almost like, it is literally like word for word. It is the book. And it was so well done, and I would recommend doing that because maybe you would enjoy it even more.
Okay. But I did enjoy the show, The Sandman. It was very well done. I watched it. Brad watched it with me, but I also watched it in conjunction with Hope. Shout out to Hope.
Has Hope read Sandman?
That I don't know.
Okay, because she's a big reader like we are. So.
Yeah, she tends to read more romance, though. She's a huge romance reader. But so Hope and I were texting back and forth as we watched parts of it. We were like, can you believe this happened? What about this? And then the absolute best thing is in episode 1. Mm-hmm. This is not going to spoil anything because this happens in episode 1, so it's not that big of a deal.
Right.
But there is a very strong Twilight happening.
I'm here for it.
Like Twilight vampire.
That's all you got to say.
Thing.
I'm good.
And my jaw just kind of dropped open for a second. And I texted Hope. I was like, am I watching Twilight? She was like, haha, you're at that part. So it was not just a Bianca moment. It was, I think everybody kind of got a Twilight vibe.
Well, that works for me because most people, and you can come for me if you want, land of listeners. Most people that claim they hate Twilight, they don't. They just want to be cool and tell everyone they hate Twilight. And guess what Miranda realized a long time ago? I don't care what you think about me. I freaking love Twilight.
I love Twilight. I'm a Twihard.
Those books were fantastic. The movies? Oh, okay.
They got better, like, the more you progressed with the movies.
Yes.
Like,
but
the first one's the worst, but
and that's the one I've watched the most. I find comfort in it. It's
same.
A comfort watch. But in true book to film adaptation, I think a lot of the things I heard people complaining about along the way, if you'd read the books, are explained. There's one scene that comes into mind in particular every time someone starts complaining that that it's in. You and I talked about this before, so I apologize. I know we're only 3 episodes in, but I don't know if we've talked about it on here or just privately. It's in book 2, movie 2, where she's having this horrific, tremendous nightmares because Edward's gone. And she's like freaking out. And I remember so many people telling me, oh my God, she's such a brat. She's horrible. What? That's ridiculous. But if you remember in the book, it explains why. It explains the nightmares that she's having in detail.
Yeah.
And so if you understood like the nightmare she's having, you too would wake up in a cold sweat freaking out. Like
that required more context in the movie.
It did. And that happened a lot in those, like through the whole series, that happens like a lot.
Yeah. But I will say there's one thing that bothered me with the Sandman, going back to Sandman.
Okay.
There wasn't a real coherent plot throughout the whole series. Like, kind of each episode can stand on its own. And that wasn't what I was expecting. So I just want to warn anybody, if you haven't watched it, go in with that in mind.
If I remember correctly, because it has been a while since I have read the Sandman series, if I remember correctly, yes, there is like an ongoing story, but you could also almost read like issue 1 and never read issue 2, or you could read issue 3 and never have read 1 or 2. Yeah. There are a few stories that are continuing.
I think for the TV purposes, you need to watch episode 1 just because it kind of gives you all the background information and everything.
Right.
And like there is technically one thing that flows in the episodes, but you could very easily just pick an episode and watch it.
Okay.
My favorite was episode, I think 6. Hold on. I should have. Oh, I think it is 6 because that was like the first thing that popped up with Google. Yes, it is episode 6. So yeah, I think that one was my favorite. There's one, I think it's episode 7, or is it 5? It might be episode 5. One of them is super gory, super duper gory. I was not prepared for that. I had to like,
because you don't like super gory, correct?
No.
I can handle.
And that's basically all that episode was. I looked at Brad. I was like, "Is this the Sandman? Like, are we watching the same show?" Because it's very fantasy, but then episode 5 is set in, I'll say, quote, real world. It looks like our world. It's very Earth, and the Sandman is not prominently featured in that episode. It's more of a side character episode, and it got very gory very fast. And it got very dark.
It is dark. There are like 75 issues to the first series, or to the original comic book series. And there were some pretty dark moments in there. So
I was just expecting a good old fantasy series, and then I got that.
Yes and no. Yes,
so when you watch it, I want text updates.
Okay, I can do that. I'm sure there's some things that have been updated because the comics have been out for like 30 years.
I didn't know they were that old.
Oh yeah, Neil Gaiman been at this for a while. Yeah, they're older, but they're great. And if I remember correctly, everything I read, they said they were staying very true to the comic series. They were changing some things, but that they were kind of, staying as close to them as they could. I looked it up. They were published between 89 and 96. They said that some natural changes had to be made to ensure that Sandman would fit with the standards of 2022.
Yeah.
And some of these changes included casting women as actors, and of course people of color, which they should be. That shouldn't be. But in the story itself, and in the comic, I understand what they're saying. So they did some gender flipping.
Which I wanted to ask, without spoiling anything, what is the gender of Lucifer in the comics?
Lucifer is male in the comics. That is one of the things that they flipped, having Gwendolyn Christie play Lucifer Morningstar. Yes, Lucifer.
She did an excellent job.
She's a fantastic actor.
He did amazing, but I was just like, interesting choice.
Yeah, and then they also changed, they switched John Constantine to Johanna Constantine, or Joanna. There's 1,000 ways.
And see, they pronounce it Constantine.
Well, they're British.
That threw me off a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, but but that's Jenna Coleman.
That's Jenna Coleman.
For those, that's my Doctor Who lady. That's Queen Elizabeth. No, it's Queen Victoria. Sorry.
Queen Victoria, yeah.
I was like, oh, you go, Jenna.
Yeah. She's not my favorite Doctor Companion, though. Sorry.
Top 3.
Not mine. Sorry. She's not my favorite. I think me, you, and Jenny all have different favorites for that whole show.
My number 1 is Amelia Pond.
Not mine. Mine is Billy Piper as Rose.
Okay, she's number 2 for me. Okay.
I love Rose. But yes. So they did some flipping around. Seems like everyone is on it. Like everybody, even people that like had no clue what Sandman was before, seem to really enjoy it. So yeah, I think I'd recommend that one too. I know it's on my list to watch.
You have homework.
So, any other adaptations that you would like to tell us about?
No, that's all I could think of. Lord of the Rings and Sandman.
Well, we will give updates on those then. Maybe we'll have adaptation minute update.
Yeah.
Update disc. Because I haven't watched. Obviously, Lord of the Rings hasn't started yet, and tomorrow night starts the House of Dragon.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Well, I think you're way less interested in it.
Yeah, no, I keep seeing reviews that there's going to be a lot of violence for violence sakes and various sexual encounters that are not going to be great. And to me, that does not enrich my life in any way.
No.
So
but
I will leave that for all of you diehard Martin fans.
I do. Yeah, I will say I struggle with certain types of adult time, especially non-consenting adult time. I don't like that. I don't like that
And when
at all.
it's used just for shock value, it's...
Yeah, I really don't like that. But some of the stuff that happened in Game of Thrones TV series, it really did happen in the book. It was part of the plot and the storyline and what happened to that character and why they behaved the way they did and kind of stuff such. So I can like cover my eyes and feel really sick to my stomach and just know that it's part of the story. But Matt
Let me know
Smith,
how old Dr. Matt Smith does.
Yeah, but even he came out in an interview and said that he personally felt that there was too much sex in the new House of Dragon. And I was like, oh, whoa. Because the man has bore it all in a few shows.
Yeah, he has.
So if he said that, I felt like, oh, wow. But like you and I were having a private discussion with our friend Susan, we all kind of agreed like the gore and sex are pretty on par for what you expect from that franchise.
I mean, that is true.
And then we have to consider the television channel that is doing the adaptation. The word is evading me. There's a word. Words are hard.
That's why we read them and don't speak them.
Exactly. But yes, it's to be expected from I guess what is taking place, but that still doesn't mean I have to like it.
Yeah.
And I won't lie, if I watch episode 1 and it's just too much for me, I will dip.
I'll wait to get your review.
Because I will tell
dive
you.
in. Yeah.
I will tell you this is not I think I have told you before. I tell you in books for sure. But I will tell you like, hey, this is not for Bianca.
Yeah.
Because
I will say I made it through the Game of Thrones TV series, but I really
the whole thing you made it through?
Yeah. But I definitely skipped some parts.
Oh, for sure.
I was just like, oh, it's coming. Okay, skip. Next scene.
Oh, that's right. One of the things I've told you I did not think was for you, well, chunks of it were not for you, was Outlander.
Yeah.
Because I was about to say, did you make it through Outlander? But no, I'm the one that's told you, like,
I think
it's
I
a
only
great
watched the
show,
first
but there's a
episode.
lot of parts that are not for you.
And that's fine. Not everything is for everybody.
It is. It's not for everyone. But what is for everyone is podcasts, right, Bianca?
Always.
Always. And we have a lot of them in our wide world of podcasting here that is part of the Place to Be Nation home. So, Bianca, tell people, because this is not the only one you do, but tell people where they can find you. I know you also have been writing some articles. Just put your little self out there. So where can everybody find you at?
First, you can find me on Instagram. I am at Stylin' Freak. I post my cooking adventures, my life adventures, my cat adventures.
Oh, babe.
So you can follow me on there. That is public. I think all my other social media stuff is private. Oh, wait, no, my TikTok's public. So go follow me on TikTok. I think I'm just at Bianca Jimerson there. Also some good cat videos.
Yes.
I've also been partnering with my work and am putting out monthly little book blurbs. That is at UWF Libraries if you want even more book content from me. And the rest of my stuff is forthcoming, so stay tuned. But I do also co-host another podcast with our friend Jennifer Smith. That is Bianca's First Time, which I think is now hosted on North-South Connection.
That is correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Which you can if I'm not mistaken, I do have a section on the Place to Be website where you can get to all of our family.
Yes, I've seen it listed.
Feeds. Yes. You can find all of our other family feeds, adjacent, as I like to call them, brother sister feeds, and get to Bianca and Jenny's pod. Yeah,
go give us a listen there and laugh along with me while you intake my takes on very old movies that I should have watched a long time ago.
Mm-hmm. And maybe if I can convince Bianca, I might get to have her over with me on Stream Lounge. Maybe we'll find an adaptation of a book that we can watch on Stream Lounge. She just doesn't want to be on camera.
I haven't ruled it out completely.
Okay, so here's what it is, guys. It's like when my kid walks in the room and is like, "Can I do this?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'll think about it." And he walks out going, "That wasn't a no." So that's what right now I'm taking it as, that wasn't a no. So yes, we do have things coming in the future. You're going to hear more episodes of Bianca reading a book and I reading a book from the same genre and telling the other one about it. Sorry there were spoilers this week. Or maybe you're not sorry there weren't spoilers this week. But we definitely want to have you back for next time. We have many ideas for the months to come. For me, you can also find me on TikTok. I really am trying to bump that following up there. Sounds strange, but I'd like to be able to go live, and I'd like to be able to have stories where you can you see me playlists. I want playlists.
Yeah.
I need more followers to have playlists. A lot of mine is European travel. I've even got some cooking, some silly things that my son comes up with. And I'm trying to merge into book talk, but there's this thing called fear.
Yeah, it's real for book talk. Book talk is vicious.
Book talk is vicious. They will come for you. So, I highly encourage, if you are a reader, though, to check out the side of Book Talk, though, because it also can be very welcoming and informative. So there is that. I've been learning a lot about the editing and publishing world thanks to Book Talk. So yeah, you can find me over there. I am also on Instagram. Of course, I would highly recommend everyone to join the Place to Be Facebook group. We have tournaments over there where we decide what is the best animated movie, one we're doing right now. There's a lot of wrestling updates, but we have things for everybody. Song of the day. It's when we post when the new podcasts are out of all of the feeds. So come join us over there. And of course, until then, if you're not listening to a podcast, keep reading.